So we are exactly at 9. We're still seeing people joining, so we'll just give another 2-3 minutes for people to join, and then we'll start. Okay, so welcome everyone, and I see many people joining from different part of the world. Many from most of the people from India, down south, north, and even from other part of the world, like in the South Asia, Africa, America, different continent. Okay, so welcome everyone. Hopefully you are. It's a different time zone for everyone. It's like sometime for you. For a few people it's like morning. For a few people it's evening. For a few people it's late afternoon. Yeah, either it's a coffee time. We have chosen the time in the way that either it's a coffee time or dinner time or a morning breakfast time or going to do a lunch. It's almost like little off time for you, and it's Sunday, but our session as made sure is of a short duration, so you can easily can handle them and take this time to learn something new. So let's start the event now. So we are already 191. So let's start. So session today is Golang Professional Starter Kit, and as you see, it's 9 p.m. IST. So, and we are also live on 5th IR platform as well as on our YouTube channel, which is Multi-Cloud for You, which you can directly search on Google or somewhere, and you'll be able to see our live session today. And welcome Dheeraj. Dheeraj is the evangelist for US zone, and most of the Americas and Canada, and a lot of people joining from US also. So welcome everyone. Let me move to the next slide. So the hosting team, like just a welcome note from the hosting team. I am Anjani Kumar. I am the founder of Multi-Cloud for You. I am being supported by Gavaskar S. He is almost like a founder. He's a delivery director of 5th IR, which is our training platform. He's a main go-to guy for you in terms of connecting with colleges, university, and the corporate. Dheeraj Singh is more has a better connectivity with the corporate and the people directly working in the industry. He's a master mentor in the data world, and he is also a evangelist around all the different topics that we are doing, and we are helping people transform to the 5th IR, 5th Industrial Revolution. With us, we are supported by Abhishek Gaurav, our teammate Dhruv Gupta, Pranja Manchanda, Soumya Pranjal, Rama Agarwal, and Priyanka. And then we have with us Sweta Singh and Bhaskar Tripathi as a co-founder, and then there are multiple people who handles different type of work here and different type of knowledge sharing activity, which is like Abhishek Mishra, Deepak Singh, Priyash Prath, Nilosma Srivastava, Harvak Singh, Suyesh Kandula, Anna Hoffman, Arshad Ali from different multinationals who are here. And along with that, we have plus 10,000 plus of supporter. Now it's almost 12-13,000 across the globe who help us to run this platform. So 5th IR, as you see, like as I mentioned, so it's mostly like our platform is mostly like more people are joining from Asia and joining Indian subcontinent, but we have a greater amount of popularity in the Americas, North America and South America both, see, and then other part of the world also. We have almost covered 80 countries now, and people from almost 80 countries join our platform. So what is the benefit of engaging with us? It's like we do a virtual coffee global session. It's like a coffee that we say, because as I said, right, it's either in the evening or in the morning. And most of the time when you are free or you are taking your lunch or dinner, you can directly, the WebEx has the feature, right, you can directly add it, like join it through a mobile, and you can use the radio option for it. So every session has a learner certificate and exam. Then there is we help upgrade through the short session. We session voluntarily curated by engineers. So all of our sessions are directly, when we choose people, make sure that the people are directly from the industry. They are not just trainers. They have the live experience. They have gone through the time and tide of working with the client, and they have gone through a real ups and downs in the technology. Hub for educator, learner, job seekers, and people looking for experts. Paid or volunteer, we don't care. We have the platform equipped to handle both of cases. Community evangelism certificate we give to our volunteers who join with us, and then there is a training partnership with cloud companies that we do. So we are direct partners with Alibaba Cloud, and we have a very engaging partnership with Azure, AWS, and other cloud platform. So now for this session, how you can take your certificate and how you can start with. So obviously this session is happening here, but there's an exam and certificate and all the links and everything is there for LX, which we have already set for. So the best way is to go to fifthir.com. There's a link I have already there, direct link we have already shared on different platforms through which you are joining. But if you forget even the link, you just go to fifthir.com, 5thir, you see the number 5thir.com, and simply say GoLang, right? So search it, GoLang. This is the key code for it. And once you see GoLang, you will see the session already set, which will become a course after the 2 days event, because it's already recorded, and then once we clean it, we'll run it as a course. And anytime you can come up, take your exam, take your certificate, doesn't matter. It's either today or tomorrow or day after tomorrow. It's going to remain for years, right? And whenever there is some new changes coming on this session, we'll eventually invite you to do that. So you just have to click enroll. Once you click enroll, it will take you to the page where you put your name.
Hi, I'm Alex
see
Casanova.
the brief of the session that Alex is going to give today. Then put your name, your phone number, maybe something like that. So blah blah blah. I will just put 000 for here. If you don't want to put your phone number, it's okay. But obviously your email would be required. So for me, it's I'll put it there like this, and then I will accept the terms and condition, and then I'll go submit. So once I go submit, I will see, you see, the event will be streaming here. So the same event is being going
Hi,
it's live.
I'm Alex.
You see, it's little delayed, but you can see the event directly from here. You can chat with us from here. The team is already hearing your message and things. You don't just need to join on the WebEx. You can directly see the event here also and interact with us. And then you see when you come down, there is a calendar event. Whenever you do any event, like you can save to any calendar, and then it will be like enabled like on your calendar, Outlook, or somewhere where you can easily like allot you on time to, so that you should not miss the event. You see, there's a link which is 1 free certificate ready to download, and then 10 free quiz to take. You just have to click this link after this session, and this is the free files to download. This is the PDF that Alex has shared. You can download it after this session, and this is a source code. This Alex has set for us. You can go and review the source code that Alex is going to demo today. And this is like you 10 free quiz to take. You just click it out, and will go and will take you to the quiz. There may be some issue constantly, but I'll make sure that it's live, and then you can get your certificate downloaded from here. So you can simply see once for certificate ready to download. Once you give the exam, you can download your certificate from here. Okay, so this is how it is. This is just fifthir.com, the link that you are clicking, and then you will be able to do it. And then this is like it's not just one technologist or one expert. We have hosted most of the premium technologists from across the world. It's like Suresh Kandula, Anand Chan, Arsad Ali, Bill Inman, who is the father of data warehouse, Jeff Bark, who is the chief evangelist of AWS, and a lot of different people. Bob Ward, who was one of the SQL Server CTO, and he is one of the person who, Selman, who wrote the first VB book, I think back in 2000. And I hope she's a well-known lady across Mahesh. Is a well-known Terraform expert. There is a session also coming up for Mahesh. He's already given one session. There are few other sessions coming. Alex, he's the VP of engineering. He's a solution architect. He's a software consultant, application developer. He has done all lot of things you talk about in technology. He's currently the VP of engineering at RODO, and he's expert in even being a VP. He has to handle a lot of things, but he still is a hands-on developer. That's the biggest thing about quality about Alex, right? Many people just forget coding at this level, but he still loves doing it, and that's what he's here to give us a brief walkthrough and starter around Go and mobile and web application development. He's a master in that, and this is his LinkedIn profile. You can directly connect with him. It's already there. The PDF you can see linkedin.com. You just have to search Casanova Consulting. And certificate that I said, the certificate will be Golang Starter Professional Multi-Cloud for U Academy, and the person name, and then successfully completed level 2 module with exam offer Multi-Cloud for U Academy. Even the exam portal does not runs well, no matter. Right? You can can give the exam anytime, even after the session. Anytime you can come on the platform, give the exam the way we have said, and the recording will already be available. You can just go and preview the recording on the page, and just have to search 5th IR plus GoLang either on Google or come to 5thIR.com and search it, and you will be able to reach to this page.
Anthony, I'm sorry. Sorry to stop you in there. I don't think so. You've been sharing since you started talking about the whole thing. You were talking.
I was sharing, but looks like there is some issue with the sharing. Just give me a moment. Can you see now?
Yes, now we can see it.
Okay. So yeah, so it was actually streaming. So anyway, that is already live. So you can see the recording. So no issues.
Perfect.
But now over to Alex. So Alex, it's all yours.
Okay. I want to share my screen. Okay. Thank you, Anjani, for the introduction. Very happy to be here and talk about Go. So yeah, let's get started. I guess a little bit about me. About 14 years experience.
Alex, just wanted to request you to, if you can zoom it a little, zoom your video a little. No, not like that. Maybe let it be at the way it was, right? I think it should work. Okay, let it be the way it was before, 100%, right? Or maybe a little, yeah, it's okay. Don't worry. Just have, if you can go into the play mode, I think that would be much better. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, and then there would be just shift the view, right? The screen that you are sharing, you can shift the view where it will come at the whole screen, full screen. At the presentation, you will have an option to shift the view. Like you can change the view. So it's not the presenter view; it's just the the another view is there. So it's just you can there's a link right here at the side. You see there are 3 links are there. During the cross, near the cross, you just near the cross. There's that one. Yeah, you can just near the cross at the top. At the top, near the cross, near the close, there's a link. You just have to click that link, I believe. Where your mouse is. Yes. Your mouse is around. Yes. There's a link at the cross, and then there's a circle link which is there, which shows 2 squares. Yes. There only.
Okay.
That one.
Expand to.
Just near, just next, left, right. Yeah, that one. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right. So a little bit about me. I've got about 14 years as a software engineer. Got my start writing web applications in PHP and JavaScript. And I did some time doing some consulting where I did some more mobile development with some Flutter and iOS. So through my career, I worked with media, medical, and now automotive industries. Currently, I'm the VP of engineering at a startup called RODO, where they allow you to buy, lease, or trade in your vehicle all through the comfort of your home without having to go to a dealership in person. So this is a place where we've built quite a few services using Go. So I was definitely excited to get to talk about Go. Okay, so why Go? Go programs run pretty fast in comparison to a lot of other languages, specifically interpreted languages. So languages like PHP or Python, JavaScript. Go is also pretty easy to learn if you're coming from languages that have like a C-like syntax. And Go is also open source. So there's a lot of support, a lot of IDEs and plugins that support Go. And one of the advantages of Go, which I think the founders wanted to emphasize, was really at a certain point in time, developers had to choose between efficiency, execution, and the ease of programming. And I think Go balances all of those things very nicely. When you talk about the speed of certain languages, we tend to sometimes forget the ease of programming and the speed of programming. And I think Go has a very nice balance. So you get to see a lot of the benefits of that. So anatomy, every Go program has what they call the runtime, which is basically Go's standard library, which is baked into every application that you would build with Go. Every Go program needs a main package, and within that package, there is a main function or a function called main, which would stand as the entry point for the Go program. So like I said before, Go programs mostly seem to look like, C syntax. So when you're like declaring variables, you'll see a lot of similarity between other languages that you've written code in. So var, I, int, you have your standard var keyword, you have I as the identifier, and then int as the type. So this would be very familiar to you. I'm gonna see if I can jump into some code. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Can you see the code? Okay. Let me see if I can code. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So here's a hello world program. So as I said before, every Go program has a main package. So this is how you would declare your package. You just write the keyword package and the name of the package. In this instance, we're just going to use main. And here is how you would import any sort of standard libraries or libraries from other packages. In this instance, we're going to import a logging library that's native to Go. It's called FMT. It's basically a library used for logging and formatting certain input and output. So then down here on line 5, we have our main function. So you'll see the keyword func, F-U-N-C, which is how you would declare a function, and the name of our function, which would in this case is main. And then here on line 6, we're calling the println function from the FMT library. So if I were to run this program, I would just write the keyword go and then run. Hello world. And you'll see hello world printed out during execution. Now we can also build this application by running go build. So when we build that program, we're going to see a file called hello world. And I can run that program as it's now a compiled program. And it will also write a standard out hello world. Let's see here. Share. Change what I'm sharing. All right, so as for variables, we have the same concept here. We have a package main. We're importing a FMT library for logging. And as you can see here, we're declaring a variable A and then setting it equal to a string initial. So that's an example of how we would declare a variable with a string value. Also, what you can do is declare multiple variables at once on the same line. So you have var and the multiple identifiers, which would be B and C, and then you have your type, int. equal to 1 and 2. So if we were to log this out, we would just see the values 1 and 2. So Go also supports inferring the type based on the way you declared it. So here we can omit the type, and Go will realize that this is a Boolean value and will declare this variable as a Boolean type. So var d equals true is a valid line of Go code. So here on line 21, we just have var e int. So we haven't given it a value, but what Go will do is set the value to the zero-based value for that type. So the zero-based value for an integer would be 0. The zero-based value for a string would be an empty string. And the zero-based value for a pointer would be nil. So here's an example of declaring or initializing a variable without a value. So on line 22, if we were to print this out, we would just see the number 0. So here on line 27, there's something called a shorthand syntax for declaring and initializing a variable. So here you'll notice f colon equals and then apple. So this colon equals is shorthand for declaring and initializing a variable. So you'll see this pretty often when you're working with Go code. It's, obviously it's a shorthand, so it's used a lot. So yes, let's try to run this program. Go run. So you'll see from the code up top, we've logged out initial, we've logged the values 1 and 2 when we've declared multiple variables at once. And we've logged out the value of d here, which is just true. And we've logged the zero-based value of this integer variable e, which is just 0. And here we see the shorthand syntax work just the same as the other lines of code where we've declared variables. So for just about any language you've used before, there's the concept of control flow. You need to be able to loop through certain structures. And so Go has a very simplified way of doing this. Go really, compared to other languages, doesn't have as many keywords to kind of memorize and use. So you won't find constructs like a do while or a while loop. You'll just see one keyword called for used in different ways to accomplish the same things. So let's try this first one, which is going to look pretty familiar to you if you've worked with other languages like JavaScript or Java. So here, what we're doing here is on line 17, we're initializing a slice of integers, and we're setting it equal to this variable name called numbers. And then here on line 18, we're setting the value 0 to a variable called sum. And then here, we're doing a traditional for loop where you have some instantiation of a variable, and then you have the second segment delimited by the semicolon for a condition, and then you have this incrementer here. So all we're doing here is just adding whatever value we've gotten from this numbers array from the index of I into sum, and then we just print out the sum at the very end. So that's going to look pretty familiar to you if you're coming from other languages. So now this loop with condition function, we're taking the same sort of variables and values, but we're changing the loop a little bit. So this is going to basically simulate what you might see in another language as like a while loop. So instead of the while keyword, we're going to just reuse the for keyword, and we're going to say for I less than n, which is our condition. We're going to run whatever is between these braces, and then at the very end, we're going to log the sum. We're accomplishing the same thing we did up here in loop with init. We're just using a different way to loop, which could be useful if that's what fits the problem set. So we also have we also have a way to loop without a condition. So this might be useful if you have some sort of condition that needs to, you need to loop through it, but you don't know when precisely. So you have some sort of condition that's nested within your looping construct. So here's we're accomplishing the same thing as the previous two functions. We're just adding a condition within the body of our loop, and then we're adding this keyword break once the condition is met. So something that's a little bit different, that's specific to Go, is this keyword range. So range is another way that you can loop through, you can use range as a way to control flow within arrays or slices or even maps, which we'll get to soon. So we're doing the same thing that we did in the previous functions, but we're using this keyword range. So range alongside for is going to be basically, this will stand as the index of the type that you're looping through. So if this were a map, this here would be your key. And since this is just an array of integers, this would just stand to be your index. And then your value will be the second variable here, which you can use within the body of your loop. So we're doing the same thing that we did before. We're just using the range keyword to loop through this variable here. So I'm trying to get back to my slides. Slides. Content. Are you guys able to see my slides, or are you still seeing the code? Okay, I guess you're seeing the slides. All right. So arrays. So Go has arrays. The array length is a part of the array type. So arrays in Go cannot be resized. They're mostly used as a building block within the Go programming language. So you see arrays being used a lot inside of the standard library. But for the public APIs of Go, you'll see slices being used more often. So let's go to slices. So here we have a main function where on line 10, we're declaring an array, var a, and then we're setting the length of the array, which is a length of 5, and then we're giving it a type. So this now declares a as an array of integers. Now, if we were to print this, Go, since we haven't set any values to it, Go will automatically set the 0-based value for that type. So this array will be basically 5 values of 0 in the array. So now on line 16, we're setting the value 100 to the last indices of the array. So if we were to print this out, you would see basically 4 zeros and 1 value 100. And and we can do that now. So up top here, you see this EMP line. This is the logging of the array with zero-based values. And then once we set the last indices to 100 and we log it, now you see the change in the array. So that's how you can set values to different parts of the array. Now Go has a Len function that would allow you to get the length of the array. So here you'll see the length is 5 when we print it out. And also you can use syntax to both declare and initialize an array in one line. So separate from on line 10, where we didn't set any values, we can also create this literal value where we put the actual values we want inside of the declaration. And also, like other languages, you can create multi-dimensional arrays. So here we're creating a multi-dimensional array here. It's two-dimensional, and we can loop through and create values and assign them inside of this loop here. So as you can see, when we log everything out, we have a two-dimensional array with values inside each. So slices. So slices are like arrays, however, they're dynamically sized. So you can append to a slice and you can delete different elements within a slice. So slices you'll see are much more common than arrays. And it's really just describing the underlying values within an array. So let's go through slices. All right, so on line 12 here, we're creating a string slice. So we're also on the second parameter, we're setting the length of this slice. So we're using this keyword make to initialize the slice. So here, if we were to log this out, we would see a slice, a 3-length slice with empty strings in it. So on line 16 through 18, we're now setting multiple values to each indices inside of the slice. So the first index, we're setting in a value of A. Second, we're setting a value of B. And third, we're setting the value of C. So here, if we wanted to get a certain value, we would just pass in the actual indices we're looking to get, and then we would log that up. So we can run that as well. So here you can see on line 13, we have an empty slice with nothing in it. And then as we've added values to this slice, when we try to get the values again on line 20, we can get that value at indices 2. And much like the array example, we can call the len function on a slice and get the length of the slice. Well, unlike arrays, we can now append to that slice. So we have a slice with 3 values in it, but here on line 26, when we call the append function and we pass in the original slice and then the value that we want to add to that slice, we can do that here using this syntax. So this will return the slice with the added value. So you can see on line 27 where we do that with multiple values. So we can add both E and F at the same time to this slice S. So you can see here that we've added D, E, and F to this slice from before. So slices also can be copied. So we're now here on line 31 making a new slice and giving it the same length as our previous slice. And then on line 32, we're taking the original slice S, and then we're copying the values into this slice C. So slices also support this sort of, I guess, segment syntax, where you can try to get certain values from within a slice, and it will return a new slice with just the range that you're looking for. So within this syntax, if we take the slice, open bracket, and then we take the lower index that we're looking for, and then colon the high index that we're looking for, and then it will return a new slice with just the elements from the low to the high, but not including the highest limit. So this should be from indexes 2 to 4. So you'll see that here when we log it out, we have the value C, D, and E here. Okay. So there's also a data structure in Go called a map, which is a key value store. Just like with slices, we use the make function to initialize and declare a map. So I'll show you an example of that. So here we're taking the make keyword using the shorthand syntax, and then we're declaring a map with a key type of string and a value type of string. And then we're setting it equal to this variable called states. So what I'm doing here is setting values to a specific key inside of this map called states. So just as an example, I'm just using some cities and states in the US. So the value of New York City, which is a string type, and we're setting the key New York to this states map. So we do that for a few different cities and states here. And then we call the length function just to get the length, just so you can see that this also works with the map data structure. And then also here we have this function delete, which allows us to delete from a map. So here what we're doing is taking the key that we're looking for, and then we're deleting from this map. So we're taking Texas and we delete from this map. So we should be left with just New York, California, Illinois, and Arizona. And here's just a print of the map. So let's run that. So here on line 15, we get the length of the map, which is 5. And then on line 18, we delete an element from that map. So when we print out the rest of the states here, you'll notice that Texas is not listed. Okay, so in Go, they have this idiom called the OK idiom. So that allows you to check for the existence of certain values. So what we have here is a specific key, which is Arizona, and we're checking to see if the key of Arizona exists in this state's map. So what will happen is it will return this multi-value statement. So you'll get the value, and then you'll get this Boolean that will let us know if the value actually exists or not. So you can see when we ran this file, exists here, and it says true, and it says the value is Phoenix. So this is useful sometimes if you're running your application and you're not sure if maybe you have some dynamic data and you're not sure if that value exists and you don't want to run into some sort of runtime error, then you might want to check it first and then continue on with your execution. So just like with slices and arrays, we can loop through a map using the keyword range. So here we're looping through the states map, And here is the key, which is the state from up here. The city is the value. So here, when we ran that code, we see the value and the key and so on and so forth. All right, so Go is not a traditionally object-oriented language. There is no keyword for classes, but they do have structs. And structs are composite data types that allow you to aggregate other data types from within it. So with structs, you can attach methods, which allows you to apply behavior to your types. And you'll be allowed to group those types together and be able to embed other structs to kind of give you a sense of maybe some inheritance. And you'll be allowed to kind of export and not export certain fields inside of your structs, which I'll show you in a little bit. So here we have a short piece of code. So on line 5, we're creating a struct called person. So this is the syntax for creating a struct. We use the keyword type. We name the struct here, and then we basically state that it is a struct, and then we open and close braces with different fields and their types. So this particular struct has a name field, which is a string, and an age field, which is an integer. So down here on line 18, we're going to log a literal person. So we're going to instantiate this person with a name and a value, and an age and a value. So this one is particular, it's Bob and age 30, and we can create another person with the name Fred here, and we can also create a reference to a person here with a name and age. And we're going to call this function new person, which will pass in a name as a string and create a literal person here using the short syntax and with the curly braces, and automatically set an age of 42 and return a reference to this p variable. So this asterisk is now denoting that this function returns a pointer of the person type. So I'm going to run this code here. Oops, sorry. So here on line 18, we're logging the person Bob, and you can see here this is how Golang logs to the standard out when it's a complex type. And then you'll see this ampersand, which denotes that the value here is a reference. So this is a pointer here, or a reference to a location in memory. And then on line 24, we're able to log a particular field of the struct. So here we're logging the name, and for this particular struct, the name is Sean. So you can see that logged out here. And then we have the age, which we've changed to the number 51, and we've logged that down here. So methods in Go can be attached to structs. So the difference between your regular function and your method is that the method will come with a receiver. So the receiver is kind of like an attachment to the instance of the struct. So that receiver can be either a pointer or a value a variable. So we'll go over what differences are with that. So we're starting off the same with a person struct. This time we've embedded another struct type called pet, and we've put that along inside of this person struct. So now here you're going to see some methods where we've attached to the person struct here. So as you can see, the functions that we've seen so far have just been the function and the function name. But in between, you'll see this variable and type within these parentheses, which would denote the receiver. So the receiver can be a value-based receiver or a pointer-based receiver here. So obviously with a pointer, we're possibly changing or accessing the actual value inside that memory location. So if you'll find more often that methods are used with pointer receivers, just because we may be changing values of that instance, and we want the changes to persist even after the function has been complete. So inside of say hello, we're utilizing the printf function with some string specifiers and passing in some values to be interpolated inside of the string. So you'll see here the %s and the %d are some string specifiers. The s is for string and the d is used for integers. And since the age field is an integer, we use the d string specifier here. So in our main function, we're creating an instance of a person named Bob with an age of 50. And if we were to call this function, say hello, we should see, hello, my name is Bob, and I am 50 years of age. So now here, we call this function change my name. And so this method here, which uses a pointer receiver, we can actually change the name, and the change will persist even after the function is done. So if we were to call this, we would see, hello, my name is Bob, and I'm 50 years of age. And then afterwards, after we change the name, we should say, hello, my name is Alex, and I'm 50 years of age. And then here on line 29, we're creating an instance of the pet struct, and we're giving it a name of foo and an age of 1. And then we're just appending this foo instance into pets just to show that we can change slices within an instance of your struct type. So let's go and run that. So as you can see, the initial log will show, hello, my name is Bob, and I'm 50 years of age. And then after we change the name, we see that my name is Alex, and I'm 50 years of age. And then at the end, we see that we can log out our pets. Okay, so Go has pointers like I've shown before. Pointers allow you to share a value stored in some memory location. And you can declare methods with pointer receivers, as we've seen in the last snippet. So methods with pointer receivers can modify the value to which the receiver points, and pointer receivers are more common than value receivers. So we usually use pointers when we don't want to pass around a lot of data, and you want to change the data at a specific location. So very similar to pointers used in a lot of other languages as far as just the basic use cases for pointers. So now interfaces. So in Go, values can be of more than one type. And an interface in Go is a type defined using a set of method signatures. And so the interface defines the behavior for similar types of objects. So let's show some code. So in this instance, we're going to create an interface called shape. So the method set for this interface is going to be area and perimeter. So what I wanted to illustrate here is that you can implement the shape interface by implementing the methods that the interface describes. So in order to implement this interface, you would have your type, your struct type would need to implement an area method that returns a float. So here we've declared a rectangle struct that has a length and a width that has a type float. And then we implement the area and perimeter methods for the rectangle type. So because we've implemented these with the float 64 returns, we now implement the shape interface. So down in our main function, we can actually say that, I'm sorry. So we've also done the same thing with the circle struct. So the circle struct only has a radius, which is a floating type, but it also implements the area, perimeter, and diameter methods that all return floats. So because the circle implements the area and perimeter methods, it satisfies the shape interface. So on line 45, you'll see that even though we're creating a circle literal type here with a value of 5, it can still be declared as a shape type because it implements the area and perimeter methods. So here, using the FMT printf, we can now print the value of the type and the type itself. So we can do that both with the circle and the rectangle. So now if we were to run this, so now even though we've declared S to be a shape type, when we log the actual type of that particular instance, it knows that it's really a circle type. So underneath even the shape, it can tell you exactly what type was the original value coming from. So this is useful if you're writing applications where you want to abstract out certain structs that have common behavior. You can basically have your method accept an interface so that anyone who has to integrate or implement against your interface, they can implement their own types that support your method sets for that interface. All right. So JSON. So in Go, JSON is obviously has a library to support the marshalling and unmarshalling of JSON. So marshalling is the process of transforming the memory representation of an object to a data format suitable for storage or transmission. So if you're coming from JavaScript, it's the equivalent of using JSON.stringify or JSON.parse. So the stringify function would be like your marshalling function, and your .parse in JavaScript would be like your unmarshalling function. Yeah, typically JSON is used to move data between different parts of a program or from different programs altogether. So I'll show you an example. All right, so Go has a native library called JSON, the encoding /JSON library. And so here we're using our person struct, and we're just we're declaring and initializing some person values here. and we're putting it inside of a slice of person here called people. And so if we were to log that, it would just show us this data here. Now we're going to utilize the Marshal function from the JSON library. And if we pass in our data, we'll get back a slice of bytes and an array, and an error. So you'll see this style pretty common inside of Go applications, where there's functions that return more than one value. So you'll usually see the first value would be some sort of data structure, and then the second value would be the error. So we usually see this style of code where there's a check for the error and whether the error is nil or not, and then we do something about that error inside of these braces here. So let's run this code. Go run. So here on line 26, we just do a regular log. And then on line 32, we've converted people into a slice of bytes. And then we convert that slice of bytes into a string, and then we log that string. So here's your JSON representation of the two person instances that we put in the people slice. So here on line 34, let's say we copied this JSON string, and we converted that string into a slice of bytes. Now we can unmarshal that JSON string and actually place the unmarshaling of that JSON string into a value, a variable here. So unmarshal will take your slice of bytes here, and then your second parameter would be a reference to a variable that you want to unmarshal into. So since we already created a struct called person with name and age, we're now saying, hey, take this string, this JSON string, and whenever you see name or age, apply it to the person struct, and then it will automatically create a slice of people in here. So our value is being unmarshaled into this variable here, and now we can actually loop through the people slice and be able to access the different fields inside of the slice. So as you can see here, we have person number, which is now logging I, which is the index, and then V is the value, which would be the person, and people is obviously the slice that we're looping through. So V is a person object, and now we can access the fields inside of the person object inside of this loop. Okay, so concurrency. Concurrency is the composition of independently executing processes. So to wait for multiple coroutines to finish, we can use something called a wait group. Go has something called wait groups, but it also has something called channels. I won't get into channels in this talk. I think it's would need a bit more time, but I think we can get through an example of a wait group to kind of illustrate how you can utilize concurrency inside of a Go application. So Go has a library called sync, and within that library, there is a construct called a wait group. So the wait group allows us to run multiple, functions independently, and we can run them and tell the wait group how many functions we're going to be running. Within each function, we're going to tell the wait group that we're done right before the function is completed. So when we set the counter, we call this function called add on the wait group. So let's say we know that we're going to run 2 functions. So we tell it, give me an index of 2. Let's set a counter of 2, and then let's run these functions. So let's go into runner 1. But before that, you'll probably notice this go keyword in front of the runner function. So this go keyword will turn this function into what's called a go routine. So this go routine will allow us to run this asynchronously. So it'll immediately launch the execution of this function and then go on to the next line. So it will not wait or block until, so it will continue to run this function. So let's go to runner 1. So runner 1 accepts this wait group pointer. And so within this function, all we're doing is just logging some simple text. But you'll notice this defer wg.done, which is basically saying to wait until right before the conclusion of this function is run and run this function. So defer allows you to run a function right before the execution of the main function is complete. So what this done function will do is decrease the counter by 1. So you'll also see I'm doing this with runner 2. So when we do this, at the very end, we call this function wait. So wait is going to block until the counter is set back down to 0. So this is important because if you're running multiple Go routines and other processes, if you were to run this without waiting, it will completely finish without knowing if all of your functions had concluded running yet. So the wait is important to put into your code, at least before you know you want to do something else, at least after you know that all of your Go routines are complete. So I put a log here to say done waiting. So let's run this code. All right. So you can see, even though runner 1 was run first, the log puts I am the second runner first, and then I am the first runner second. Okay. So web server. So Go has a library called the HTTP library that allows you to write web servers. So some of the main functions you'll see when you're writing your web server is listen and serve, which basically takes in a port as a parameter and allows you to run a server. Now that listen and serve will block all other execution. So so that is a blocking function. So once you run it, listen and serve is the only thing that it will just continue to run. So you also have the response writer, which assembles the server's response. So by writing to it, you get to send data back to the HTTP client. So in my next demo, we'll show how you can write data to the response writer. And then you have the request object, which is a data structure that represents the client HTTP request. So inside of the request object, you'll be able to see, you'll get things like the headers. You'll get access to parameters that are sent, either post or get parameters, and you'll be able to introspect the request. Okay. So here is just a small example of a web server. So what I did here was create a struct called country data, I have a JSON file that has a number of different countries. It's formatted using the country code as the key, and then it has some related data as an object. So we just have some names, continent, capital, currency. So pretty simple data, just a list of some data. So what I did here was try to convert the data that I know I'm going to be consuming into my own data type. So I just called it country data, and all it has is basically the same fields that I expect to see in the JSON. So since I know it's an array of keys along with objects, I've created a map structure where I know the key is going to be a string, and the object is going to represent the fields that I've denoted here. So here, what I'm doing is just initializing the country map type into a variable named all countries. And then here, I'm utilizing a library called read file. And all it does is it reads this JSON file here, and it returns a slice of bytes and an error type here. So here we check to see if there is an error. And if there is, then we just log .fatal, which will stop the execution of the application, but also write this string to standard out. So now that we've read this file, we now have a slice of bytes, and we know that when we use JSON to unmarshal the bytes, we can unmarshal those bytes into our data type here that we've declared up here. So we know that we are going to have a map of countries. We've converted it into a slice of bytes, and now we're also converting that in, pouring that data back into our variable here. So this also returns an error. So if the error is not nil, then we know that we could not unmarshal the data file. So something bad happened. So here we have this function called handle func. So a handle func is a way to declare the path for your server, like an endpoint for your server. And then here's an anonymous function that sets the response writer and the request as parameters that you can use to write data back to the client. So what we're doing here is we're saying, let's grab the header. We know we want to respond back with JSON, and we're going to take the country's bytes that we've read from before, and we want to return that in this endpoint. So I've done the same thing here, but I've called this endpoint search. So the same deal here. We're looking for a get parameter, and we've called it term. I'm going to show this in Postman as well. So we're going to read a get parameter. We're going to put it into this value term, and then we're going to loop through the all countries variable that we set earlier from reading that file. And then we're going to just check to see if the term that was passed in the API is within the name or the country code. So what we're doing here is we're calling this library strings.contains, which basically just says, is the second parameter a substring of the first parameter? So what we're doing here is just lowercasing both the term and the country name to see if there is a match. So we're also doing that with the country code. So you can see here this if statement here doesn't have any open or close parentheses. This is something that Go will strip off for you when you're building your application. So this is the syntax for an if clause and an else if clause. And down here, we're just setting the header to application JSON. And then we're taking our results slice of country data, and then we're encoding it using the response writer. So basically this new encoder encode line will take our data and then write to the response writer, and that will return that will return to the client. So as an example, we'll start the server. So go run 12 web server. So as you can see, we've got an error, could not load country's data file. Right. Okay, so let's go over to Postman. Now, if I was to go to the root, it will basically load the file, the data file that we have, and all of its contents. And if I wanted to hit the search endpoint, I would add my get parameter term with the value of United. And we just see United Kingdom, United Arab Emirates, United States. We try a country code, US. Right. And so I wanted to read this last slide for a few documentation resources that are really useful when you're getting started with Go. You have godoc.org, which is the standard library and third-party package documentation for Go. And you have golang.org, which is the standard library documentation. And you have godoc, which is a way to read documentation from the command line. I think that concludes everything. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, it's really enriching to hear you today at a very low level and at the real programming level. And obviously, guys, thank you to all of you. And we'll just show you again on how to claim your certificate and take the exam, because the sharing was not live at that point of time. Obviously, that's live on our page, but it's not there. So we'll just give you a demo again. But before that, we'd like to thank you, Alex, and like to thank you everyone who joined here. It's not just the event today. Our purpose of taking this event is to get more and more people interested in Go, and our team is ready to support you at any level, and will and also ready to make sure that you are employable and you are able to do take session, join into our hackathon and a lot of other things, so that we can make you ready as early as possible for our partners, community engagement, and corporates to get you hired at the level you are and at the experience you are. So that's one of that was one of our primary goal, to give an awareness around Go. It's going to be one of the hottest languages today, and it's one of the easiest also. You see how easy it is to program in Go, and obviously this is going to help you, and we'll rest assured that we'll keep trying adding up more enriching session on Go down the line, and obviously we'll keep inviting Alex accordingly. Before we bid adieu for today, I will again take you to the page and try to share my screen again. Just give me a moment. I will share my screen and will try to show you how to claim your certificate. So just if anyone can confirm if you are able to see my screen.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, so
Yeah.
So again, to take the exam, you just have to go here, fifthir.com. Obviously, the link I have shared, you don't have to bother so much to do that. You can actually click the link which is there in the chat window. But still, if you are still having confusion, you simply go search fifthir.com and GoLang, or you can go on to Google and you can see google.com fifthir. Either you can search LX or GoLang, fifthir plus GoLang. else enter, hit enter. Obviously you'll see a couple of our videos, but this is the one you have to go. See here, you can go here directly to starter kit 5th IR, or you can go directly on 5thIR.com, search GoLang, and then hit the search. It will take you to the event page, which is now after 1 hour will become a recorded page. And there were beep sound that people were complaining. So obviously once we upload the fresh recording, it will no more there. So you see the streaming is already live and it's already being recorded parallelly. But this is our live streaming recording that may have beep sound. But when you see the recording, refresh recording, the fresh audio, and on our internal channels, you'll see no beep sound coming. You see 10 free quiz here. Just scroll the page. You will see 10 free quizzes. You can zoom in, zoom out. If you see zoom 80, whatever, is just like control zoom in or zoom out. It will have a easy mobile view. You can easily work on mobile and all, and read on mobile. And see the event. You can see anytime you can go and play the recording. The source code that Alex is talking about, many of them would be available here. Because this is his GitHub link. This is the PDF document, the slide that is there. You can download it from here. And this is where your certificate will get ready to be downloaded. You just have to take this quiz. Once you click this quiz page panel, it will going to take you to this quiz, and you say start quiz, and it will take you through a couple of this question. You just have to start giving the question. I will just try abnormally in a odd way to show you up being fast. Obviously I'm going to fail, but yeah, I will just give it a try. And then all of the above or something like that. And whatever the question that you do not answer, it will go red. So this question I haven't given answer, so you can go back and always give that. And once you are done, you just have to submit the quiz. It shows failed, but the data get refreshed and will give you the latest result and details. Once you go back on your dashboard, you will see your latest mark and the certificate generated. If you're still not able to get in, there is a Telegram channel. You can come up to the Telegram channel. You can try the same maybe tomorrow, and you will be able to do it. So Telegram channel is at our help center, and there is an online support you see. And there are different places you can go. You can join FX. You can join the Telegram channel. You can simply search Telegram and then multi-cloud for you. Telegram.im, and then you search for multi-cloud for you, or you can search Google on multi-cloud for you and Telegram, and then some of our team will be able to help you on how to claim your certificate if you have not got it. So this is our Telegram channel, multi-cloud for you, Telegram, and you can go here, and if you have any question you can ask, or you can take this exam anytime in the future also. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining the session today, and thank you Alex for giving us your time from your busy schedule, and we'll keep on getting connected. Hope you enjoyed here with the community.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.